As you've seen yesterday, the branding of the product comes as AutoCAD OEM. You have icons showing the AutoCAD A, and in different places it says Autodesk, it says AutoCAD OEM. This branding needs to be replaced by you. This is not AutoCAD. You are not supposed to refer to the product as AutoCAD. It's not an Autodesk product. It is completely your own product. There are 3 exceptions to this. And I will show you what those exceptions are. If we start first by if we first start by doing a small recap on what we saw yesterday, I'm going to run the Make Wizard. You can actually do this along with me because it's a new day. So we're going to create the day 2 project. So it's October 1, 2, 3, 14. And you click Create. If you launch the Make Wizard, create a new project. I'll call it Day 2. For those of you who want to join the hands-on session with the cuix files, you need to follow along and do this. Right, and in the next tab, we have a product name, and this is part of the branding. I will call it Day 2 CAD. And also the company name is critical because, like I said, this is not an Autodesk product. So this means that your product, like we saw yesterday, your product will end up in program files, your company name, Texoft 3D in my case, and Day 2 CAD. That is part of the branding. And also, as we saw yesterday, the product settings in the registry will end up in software Texoft 3D Day 2 CAD. So this means also there will be no conflicts with AutoCAD, any other Autodesk product or OEM product for that matter, or if you have a plugin or something that is specifically for AutoCAD, it will work side by side with your OEM product. So that's a recap from yesterday. And we have created our project for today. So I'm just going to click Save here and move on to the help file, because this help file explains it the best way. So if I go to the developer's help from the menu, from the Windows menu, and I open up Customize your interface and product presentation. There is a section called Design Custom Images for use in AutoCAD OEM. And this section explains the requirements of the images. A couple of releases back, they introduced the alpha channel for the images. So it says that at the bottom. At the bottom it says, so the bitmap needs to be an RGB bitmap with the alpha channel added. So if you're on an old version, 2016 maybe, and you're moving up, you need to change your images. And then in the next section, you have a specification of the resolution of each image type, and also a sample from the tutorial. We're not going to do this here. You can do it following the tutorial chapter in the manual. But here I come to the exception. The first exception is in the About box. I better show that in the Make Wizard also. So in the Change Images tab, this is where you access the splash screens and the buttons. So this is what it looks like out of the box. You need to replace this with a different one. And the About box is here, right? This is the big A, the button that is in the upper left corner of the application. Very simple, all explained here. We're not going to spend time on that here. I just want to show you the first exception is in the About box. The copyright notice for Autodesk needs to be preserved. You can change the text in here. You need to change the image, but you need to keep the copyright notice in the About box. The second exception to not saying it's an AutoCAD or Autodesk product is this little icon in the splash screen. When you design your splash screen, you need to add this icon to your splash screen. And the third exception concerns the help file content in the other way around. So the help file content is massive. There are thousands or maybe tens of 10,000 references to Autodesk and AutoCAD in the help file. You don't need to search and replace or remove any of those references unless you want. But those are the three exceptions to what we saw on the PowerPoint, just there. I wanted to show you something more here. This help file. What was that? Okay, I think that was it. Again, there's a tutorial that explains changing the images. So now when we have created our day 2 project, we need to go to the AutoCAD Commands tab. And if I'm going too fast, please unmute yourself and tell me to pause. We type Shift and we select full. So we're going to run the full-blown product. There are some items in here, in this list. I'm going to search for them. Since we're going to work on the menu file. So in certain cases, when you create a menu file on your own, you don't want the user to change that or start to rearrange buttons and icons. Then you need to go into the AutoCAD Commands list and you need to disable CUI and CUI load commands in here. So they cannot tamper with your design of the user interface. And this is, by the way, the only way they can customize your product. It's by changing the UI of the ribbon menus. sort of that. So it's up to you if you allow that or not. If you don't, you select these 4, 5, and you just click none. They won't be accessible for the user. If you programmatically want to load CUI files, menu files, or do something programmatically, you need to choose internal use. That means they will still not be available for the user on the command line, but they will be available for your runtime modules. You can, from code, from your C# module or C++ modules, you can do CUI editing. That's the purpose of internal use. So I need to have this full, and I'm going to the build tab, and I build this day 2 CAD application. So what happens now, like we saw yesterday that I explained the concept with the AOEM being replaced with day 2 today, that means we're going to get the AOEM cuix file renamed to day 2 cuix. So we will get all of the content, all of the ribbon items, panels, tabs, and buttons in our product that comes with the relaxed version of AutoCAD OEM that we saw yesterday also. This is taking a while. I don't know why. Okay, so now if I run day 2 CAD, just to confirm, you see that we have the standard menu file in here and all of its contents. So this is not what we want to have in our final product. And that's, I'm just going to close this down. That is not what we want in our final product. So that's what the hands-on exercise will be about. Let's see what we have here. Yeah. Okay. So in the hands-on exercise, we're going to look at the cuix file. We're going to create a cuix file for our day 2 CAD. It is a task or topic that causes a lot of struggle for our partners. That's why I want to do it as a hands-on exercise so you get a feel for it. It is not really complicated if you do it the right way. Remember from yesterday, we control the behavior of the application. We will get our day 2 CAD cuix file, which will be the main cuix file. We don't need to, we actually don't want to work with partial loaded cuix file as you do when you create a plugin, because this is our application. We control the main menu file. That's the benefit of OEM here. This historically, when the CUI file, like it was called in the beginning, when it was introduced, it was very, very complicated. It was a disaster, to be honest, and I do suspect that somebody at Autodesk got fired after coming up with that tool. I have but nowadays it did get better. It does actually work, and there are resources in the knowledge base. You can go here. You can take a screenshot of this one if you need to look into the menu file customization. You go to the knowledge base of AutoCAD and you look at this is how to start creating the cuix files. There are articles about partial loading and all of that, but for OEM, again, you don't need to learn that. You don't need to practice that at all. You start by learning how the tools in the CUI editor works. We are not going to do too much of this today. We're going to keep it as simple as possible, but for your own exercise, just go in and look at these topics that they have published the last couple of years. It is actually, you can actually work pretty well with that. So, to create our own day 2 menu file, we're going to launch the, better do it in the correct window here. We're going to launch the relaxed version of AutoCAD OEM. So if you go to the AutoCAD OEM 2021, or if you're running 2019 or 2020 program group and launch this relaxed version of AutoCAD OEM. And we go to the CUI editor, CUI. And this is the default menu file that you will get. If you don't do anything, you will get the AOEM menu file that you see up here, renamed to Day 2 CAD without anything removed, without anything custom added. And again, you don't want to play with partial loading on OEM. There's no reason for that. It just causes you extra work and things that the end user site might not work properly. But what I want to do here is I want to open a pre-made menu file that comes with the tutorial. I just want to say that in here you see all of the tabs and the panels that we have, and you can edit and create manually in here. You can add new commands in here, and you can add them to your ribbon items, and you can put help file topics, you can name it, you can assign icons, and you also refer to the actual command that you write in your C# VLAB or Lisp or whatever it is. So this is a lot of manual work, and then you also need to design a lot of buttons and icons. We're not going to do that here. We're just going to open the tutorial CUI file that is located in Program Files, Autodesk, AutoCAD OEM, and in the tutorial folder, there is a cuix file. So this is prepared for the PolyCAD application that is part of the documentation. Okay. So now, when I have opened my PolyCAD menu file here, I can actually, just like I said, I can go and edit and I can add new commands manually here. But we're not going to do that. We're going to see what is prepared here. And there is a PolyCAD ribbon item here with 8 commands from our sample application. And you can see we don't have any icons. So that is because there remains some things to do. I'll come to that in just a little while. So if we go to the Transfer tab, and in the Transfer tab, this is the quickest and simplest way to create a new cuix file. So when you start creating your cuix file from scratch, you will probably want to have some things from the main customization file. Cancel. So in the main customization file that you will get automatically, you don't want to keep everything, but you want to keep some things in here. And normally, the quickest way is to use the workspace. So you go into the relaxed version of AutoCAD OEM, you create a new workspace, and you put your items in there that you want to have, and then you go to the Transfer tab, and you pull the workspace to the new file. We will do that together now with the poly cuix file. So in the Transfer tab, this is a new file. I'm just going to, and here, can I open it here maybe? Okay, so I needed to open it in Transfer. Sorry about that, I was confused. This is the problem when you need to speak and do things at the same time. So in the Transfer tab, this is where you create your cuix file from scratch. So when I open my poly cuix file from the tutorial, I get it here. And if I just select a workspace that I have prepared beforehand with all the content that I want to show, if I just drag this over to the new file here, this will clone all the resources to this new file. Okay, so now when I save this new file, I'm just going to use one workspace here, and I save this. I'll put it in our virtual folder here, and I will call it Day 2 cuix. So this is what we spoke about yesterday. This is the key concept of OEM development. You replace native things with your custom things. So I think we're good with that. I can do cancel here. Yeah, let's close this one. And we go to the Make Wizard. We add our Day 2 cuix file to the product, which means just like we did with the template file yesterday, it will replace Day 2 cuix. It will replace what is native or comes out of the box. We need to do copy file. And we have two locations to choose between. We have support or per user support. If you choose per user support, it means that the user, if you allow them to make changes, the user will make changes to their own local copy. And I click Save. You just see that and then I go to Build, and I uncheck Build All, and I just do Copy Files and Build. All right, so now if we run this, oh, I forgot to set the workspace current or default. That's why it doesn't show here. So if I go to Workspace and select my PolyCAD ribbons, you see I don't have any icons, but I do have my custom cuix file. There's nothing left from the AutoCAD OEM content except these properties and some viewing commands in here. But I don't have any icons. So to make this work, we need to do something additional. Let's have a look at the help file again. So in the help file, in the tutorial chapter, okay, I'm letting Claudio in. So in the help file, in the tutorial chapter, there is a section called Additional User Interface Customization. So this is a section that explains how you create these icons or how you connect them with your menu file that didn't have them, as we just saw. So I'll show something more here. If we go to the Make Wizard, here, and like we did yesterday, we went to this location. We did have a brief look at did have a brief look at the projects folder here. If I go to day 2 and toolkit, there is a file called day 2 button RC. This is a file. If I enable preview pane. So there is a file called RC file, which declare logical IDs for all resources. For all the icons you see in the ribbon menu, they are declared with a unique ID. And our icon resources need to be declared in here. And then they also need to be made physically and located somewhere on our machine. So in this RC file, we need to have those IDs. You know there's a light and dark theme since a few releases back in AutoCAD. It applies to AutoCAD OEM as well. So if you want to support the light theme, you need to do the same thing as we will do now for the light RC file and the light resource file that we will look into next year. If you fail to do that and you get a support call from your end users all of a sudden that all the icons are gone and you cannot figure out why, that means probably that they have switched the theme from dark to light and you have not added them in your light theme. So another thing that I want to look at is this is the RC file that defines the IDs, and the actual resources that we are using for this sample, this exercise, they are part of the tutorial material. So these icons we need to show in our menu file. So if I go back here, maybe I should go back there again and show that file too. So if we go to the build location of our day 2, there is a file that is called day 2 XMX, day 2 light XMX. So these are the default ones that were called AOEM XMX, AOEM button XMX, AOEM button light XMX. So currently, these are the default ones and they don't contain our icons. These are compiled resource files by the Make Wizard. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that the Make Wizard can find our icons and build them into these resource files, or at least to the dark one for this exercise. So that'll be the next step. So if we open the help file that we just saw and we just copy them from here, copy, and we go to the, I'm jumping between locations here. We go to the .rc file for our day 2 project, day 2 button RC, and oh, I don't have that here. I thought I had Notepad C++. This is not the computer I normally use. I'm going to use Visual Studio for this because the RC file is too long for Notepad, usually.
So we have a message from Raya. If we have an external menu loaded with CUI load, how can we compile icons for dark and light theme?
Can we take that question after the exercise? I mean,
there's a couple of them actually. I wasn't sure that was relevant now.
Okay, yeah, we can pause and.
Yeah, good. All right, we'll do that later at the end. I know there's a few others. Claudia says it is possible with Notepad, but you think it's because Notepads can't take so many lines. Okay.
Okay, so yeah, I'm worried that the file will be too big, so I'll just open this in here. Maybe I can copy location, copy this as text, edit address, and day 2 button. Open and let's go to the end of the file. You see there's pretty many IDs here. Everything that comes with the product out of the box. So I'm just going to add them back to the help file. Copy. How are we doing on time here? Okay, I think we'll be fine.
Quarter to.
Yeah, so I add them there. Save. Yes. Oh. Okay. I'll save this as, or I'm not admin on the Visual Studio. Okay, I'll save it. I'll save it in a virtual folder. Save as documents, virtual, save. And we'll just replace it from here. Copy back, and paste. Replace, continue. Okay, so that was the first step. The next step, we already looked at the XMX file, and I explained the concept of the XMX file. So it is built by the Make Wizard, but for the Make Wizard to find the icons that we saw in the tutorial folder, we need to make that location available for the Make Wizard. So in the AutoCAD OEM tutorial, these are the icons, and this is the location. I will copy address as text. And in the Make Wizard, in the Project Information tab, there is a field called Resource Location. So this is where the Make Wizard will look for resources, icons, bitmaps, and all of that. So I need to add this location of the icons here. I need glasses for that. Okay, and save. So now, if I go to build and I check the rebuild resources checkbox, the Make Wizard will rebuild my Day 2 application resources, the XMX files, the screen DLL, and well, you see it in the output here. It's branding resources. And now, when I run my Day 2 CAD, you see that the icons are visible here. Okay, we're pretty much on time. The last topic we were going to handle, I can just say a few words about that. Like I said initially, it is explained, the help the user documentation. How to create the help file is explained in the manual, but it doesn't explain how to create your custom content and your topics. And that's what really matters. That's what I wanted to show you, but it is time-consuming process with a lot of different steps in the exercise, which we normally do during our on-site trainings. So I will create a video of that for you. If we just, to show you, if I press F1 here, it will not find the help file here. It needs to be built. And as you see here, it says Day 2 CHM. It's HTML help file compiled into a CHM file, which needs to be added in the Your Modules tab, and surprise, it needs to be named according to your application, in this case, Day 2. But I will make a video of that and explain how that is done, and you can do it as an exercise at your own pace. I think that's better for everybody. So, by that, I think we can move into questions. What do you say, David?
Sounds good. Okay.